Today we got another reaction coming from the stream. We live right now, live every day if you want to come watch. We got the history of Geometry Dash's best players by Wrongway98. This is uploaded 9 months ago. Shout out him, 31k subs. Go follow him and stuff. I did want to mention that I got a comment on YouTube. I read my comments. I do read my comments. That said, how do you, in the same sentence, say you don't know who Pop-Off is, but then know that there's like 4 other victors on Title Whip? I honestly only know what the chat has told me and what people have told me. So I feel like this is a really good like video for like me just to kind of understand what everything is. So far, the top players that I know off the top of my head is Pop-Off now, Zoink, Dogi, Trick, Magnetic Maybe, Pasta, and Kit GMD. That's it. Scene. Good call. Thank you guys. I'll restart it. I'm on Twitch now. Thank you, Hydra. Thanks for the follow, bro.
There are a lot of different ways that anyone can be good at Geometry Dash.
I forget to check.
Whether you slowly work your way up to harder and harder levels, or jumping towards the hardest levels. Okay, I'm gonna pause.
I know the YouTube audience hates when I pause, but I'm gonna ask a quick question and then I'm gonna watch the video. But I wanna, before we get into this, because it's the history of the best players, so I'm gonna ask a question about it. Would you say most people on this game, would you say this progression is slow? I learned about Space UK. Oh, Space UK, he was really good. I'll turn it up. Space UK, he progressed really fast. I heard Zoink progressed really fast. Do most people progress really slow though, right? Most people don't make crazy jumps like that. Professional pauser. Pause count 1. Do not count the pauses. In modern day, it's like a 50-50. Yes. Okay. If you guys have watched my gameplay, would you say I'm progressing slow, fast, mid? I can watch the video while I read.
Everyone has their methods of improvement.
Too early to say.
And from every player starting off as noobs to a few rapidly becoming the best.
No, that wasn't a pause. I was
looking at the history of Geometry
All the best players did crazy jumps eventually.
I hope you all enjoy.
Okay. Thank you, Doogie. I appreciate that.
Now, the term top player has a couple different meanings. Whether it
is
someone
Doogie in this video?
The most skill in the game,
I'm gonna know the
or
lore.
someone who completed a crazy amount of levels
Gotta be in this video.
The most difficult.
I heard you're like top 2, top 3.
So
probably not really.
Oh,
video quiet. I forgot to turn it up.
Well,
I'm watching the video.
Let's begin the journey. Back in 2014, the thought of competitively beating the hardest demons wasn't as big of an interest compared to every other year, but it didn't mean that there weren't some good players at the time. A few names that popped up were Andromeda, Neptune, and AlexPayne24.
Isn't Andromeda a Minecraft
speedrunner? Players were completing and creating a few very difficult levels, a couple of which being Necropolis and the Ultimate Phase. The amount of skill required to beat these levels back in 2014 was unbelievable.
Is audio still low?
Which, funnily enough, was actually unbelievable.
Wrong one.
Because later on, Andromeda and Neptune had been exposed for cheating, which made Alex Payne one of the main legitimate icons in Geometry Dash. But over time, the community started growing more and more, which increased the competitiveness in the game. And with that, we move on to the next year.
Okay, this is a good break point. I don't care. I'm pausing again. The game, like, when did the game really get like popular? 2. Stop counting the pauses. Stop counting the pauses. No, I'm asking this is a legitimate question. When did this game get popular? I know, was it it was this year, right? It was this year, right? That the Bloodbath arc started, right? Late 2014, 2015. Okay, so around this time. I heard that right now, like today, the game's the most popular it's been. Is that fact or cap? But 2014, 2015 is when it kind of like, okay. It really got popular, and then it really got popular in 2020. Efi, welcome to the stream, man. Fact. Okay, that was a legitimate pause.
Been the most
I'm watching the video.
Important year for Geometry Dash, as this was when top players such as Riot and Cyclic rose to the top in a historic back and forth battle. Riot was responsible for verifying one of the most famous levels in Geometry Dash history, Bloodbath. And during his journey to beat it, Cyclic wanted to show everyone who was the better player. So he created Sonic Wave, and Cyclic managed
My
to
goat
verify
Magnetic
it
Maybe
at
has
a
beat
very
this, by the
short
way,
time,
in the chat
but
right now.
without
Everyone
video
type at
evidence.
Magnetic Maybe.
This is because at the time, the need to show a verification video or stream wasn't necessary. But after many impossible levels were being released, the community and RobTop himself declared that players had to have footage of their major completions. So
Wait,
with that,
RobTop, like,
Sonic Wave was unrated.
is, like,
And when
involved?
Cyclic heard the news about this, he wanted to double down on everyone. So out of desperation, he heavily buffed Sonic Wave, which was much harder than Bloodbath. And he verified it once again. This time, it
Yes,
was
obviously.
rated since he gave
Really?
video proof. And on August 12th of
Somewhat.
2015,
RobTop is really
Riot
involved.
verified
Oh.
Bloodbath after
I feel like
months
most game
of
creators aren't
dedication.
involved. Like, Notch
After
never got
that
really involved in
happened,
Minecraft.
people started getting suspicious of Cyclic, as there was no way
I heard about
anyone
this.
could beat a level that difficult so quickly. And on March 4th of 2016, Cyclic confessed to hacking his
He said he cheated
completions
everything. I
and
remember this.
seemingly left the community. At this
Rob
point,
ain't involved,
Riot
bro.
was
He
on
don't give
top
a
for the
fuck.
meantime.
Why do
and it
some
would
people
stay
say that he's,
way
like,
for
hella
a very
involved in?
long time. Now,
I love,
let's
like, the
move on
difference
to the
between
next
humans.
year.
It's so funny. Like, I could ask a
2016
question and
was a
everyone will have a
relatively
different answer.
quiet year for the community, as it took a very long time for a level to dethrone Bloodbath. But over time, we had a few players that completed Bloodbath, such as Quasar,
Yo, Supersonic, thank you for the follow,
and
man. I
Souls
appreciate you.
TRK.
Welcome to the stream.
And on August 14th, Trusta would verify a once impossible level.
This guy's my color
Sakup
scheme.
in Hell. The level was said to be harder than Bloodbath, and mostly everyone agreed.
Okay, I've heard
and not
Subic in
long
Hell.
after, another level was verified, Athanatos, which was hacked by Aurorus. But as these two levels were surfacing in popularity, the difficulty was questioned if these levels were actually harder than Bloodbath itself, because at the time, we
I've
were
done
in the
both those.
1.9 update, when the wave game mode
guys are
was
talented.
somewhat new and harder to control than modern GD physics. So eventually, these two levels were
I didn't even
pushed
think about
down in
that.
difficulty, as Bloodbath still remained on top. And on November 25th, Sonix would be the first to
Okay, I know this guy.
legitimately
I've heard
verify
this guy.
Sonic Wave after so long. And I know this sounds like the completion of hard.
Sorry, I'm gonna pause again. Who was the guy? I want to like remember these people. I don't want to like be a dickhead. Who was the guy that almost verified Sonic Wave? Who was that guy? And like he failed at like 96 because of the spike that was there. No, not Miffy. Not Miffy. Wait, that was Miffy? And Riot. Wait, that was Miffy? Yes. Oh. I thought Miffy like just hit that 98% at a different time. Okay.
levels
Thank you.
determined who was the
I
top
remember that.
player, but that was going to change only 2 months later. 2017 was a very eventful year for top
Because he was
players,
like 6
as
months ahead
that
of
title was
verifying it, and he died at like
constantly
96.
shifting, especially with the Demon List being released on January 17th of that year.
Riot died at 96.
Which will be crucial way later. But with the release
I thought
of the
it
Demon
wasn't
List, the
Miffy.
community had access
watched the
to a
Miffy 98
somewhat
die.
reliable source of measurement when it comes to the difficulty amongst the hardest levels.
quit the game after
The
that.
hardest level on the list when it was first launched was Artificial Ascent, which was
Ooh,
actually
this level looks
verified on
pretty.
December 11th of 2016. But that title did not last long, as it took a few weeks for Sonic Wave to be on the list. But at the same moment, Trusta would verify one of the hardest and most famous levels in Geometry Dash history, Yatagarasu.
I've never even heard of this.
And many people were clashing on which level was more difficult. But eventually, people came to their senses and realized Sonic Wave was much harder. At this point, Combine,
goat Magnetic is
Sonix,
beating it.
and Trusta were the main contenders as the best players during early 2017. But on March 19th, Boltstep would verify Erebus.
Oh my god! I just verified Erebus! Oh my god!
But there was an issue. Erebus had a similar situation with Yatagarasu, because there were many debates if it was harder than Sonic Wave. And again, it ended up with Sonic Wave dethroning Erebus. But while Sonic still remained on top as the best player, another
lot of people
person
use it like
would
that
soon
cube variation.
replace Sonic's. Throughout that year, there was
Ooh,
a
this
player
cube's
that
hard.
was completing many levels in general, including some of the hardest of all time. They were the #1 player in the world on the game's leaderboards, and were praised for their skill.
The game has a
player's
leaderboard?
name was Noctafly. He'd complete levels such as Black Blizzard and Artificial Ascent, and would actually be the verifier of a level titled Zafkiel. But as his reign on top was unjustifiable, his downfall
What are we watching
would
here?
occur with
The greatest
release
player,
of
GD
one
players, the
video.
history of them.
Riot would upload a video exposing Noctafly for splicing and having semi-automatic gameplay. Noctafly would end up leaving the community immediately after the exposal. This ended up with Sunix being the top player in Geometry Dash. And for the rest of 2017,
Riot exposed
nothing
like
much
3
would
hackers,
happen
huh?
Till history would be made. 2018 was a historic year for the community, but also one of the quietest. This is because there was a level that was verified, but was also a no-brainer on who was the best Geometry Dash player, because on February 20th, Nobbleboy would make his name known as the best player when he verified the legendary level Bloodlust. And while it is very obvious on how hard Bloodlust really is, back then, people annoyingly
Bloodlust, I've heard that.
again debated on its difficulty.
I'm gonna pause again, I don't care. Bloodlust is Bloodlust, I always forget this, Bloodlust is the Bloodbath remake that's extended, yeah, or no? Or is that something different? I always forget. Yes. Okay.
But we are
That's
not
what I
getting
thought.
into that, as unsurprisingly, it ended up with Bloodlust dethroning Plasma Pulse finale, and it would stay that way for the rest of the year. But even though Nobbleboy verified Bloodlust, it was one of those rare cases where it didn't make him a top player, as Sunix was still on top at this point. But there was someone alongside him that was showing amazing skill, Wooshi999.
Ooh, that
known
cube's
for
hard.
verifying the
That
second
cube's
hardest
hard.
level, Crimson Planet. Wooshi completed many of the hardest levels at the time, such as Plasma Pulse Finale and Gamma. Wooshi was also nominated as the
Urgent, you need to
best
see this
player
right
in
now?
the GD 2.1 awards, but he eventually started playing the game less over time, and lost his top player status. But there's another player that I feel was
Yes.
super underrated for his...
I got a link.
What the fuck? I clicked, you little nigga.
What? Yo, he didn't say it. He didn't say it. He didn't say it. He didn't say it. Why did you just link that? He didn't say it. He didn't say it. No, he didn't say it. He didn't say it. He didn't say it. Why bro.
time, and still
What the fuck are
is
you
to this
doing?
day. Diamond Splash. He was known for verifying Spatial Rend, which was the hardest level at the time. Before
Yes, he said
Crimson
shifter, bro.
Planet.
He said
His
shifter. He had a British
legacy
accent.
was
It's just
similar
kinda
to
hard to tell.
Noctafly's, but he beat and verified many of the hardest levels legitimately, and maintained that consistency to this day by recently completing Limbo. So by the end of 2018, we had Sunix and Wooshi as our main top players, and we can now move on to the next year.
Momo, thanks for the follow, man. Welcome to the stream.
2019 was a
Hope you're having good
completely
day.
different year for top players, as this was when top players would start to become a thing for the community. But who were the top players of this year? Well, there were actually 4 notable players: Technical, Nepesta,
Okay, I know Technical.
Xander556,
Oh, Impasta,
and
I know that
Delphi.
guy.
But we will talk about him later. But to kick off this new year, on January 29th, Xander would verify the new hardest demon of that year.
This cube is awesome.
Zodiac. The issue about this completion was that the verification had no clicks, and there were no progression videos. Instead,
Okay, I'm gonna pause again. This is actually relevant. Dogi yesterday was talking about on stream. I was watching a stream while I was editing. He was talking about when he verifies grief, he wants to make it not have clicks in it for aura. Is that a thing?
Tofi Wofi.
Thank you, Moonspace, for the follow. Welcome to the stream. Zodiac here is the hardest level I've beaten. Damn. No. He was saying that he wants, like, he'll have one with clicks in the description, but he wants to upload it originally with no clicks because it's aura. I feel like clicks is more aura feeling. I feel like when I can hear you, like, fucking... Like, I don't know, it sounds cooler. I don't know.
uploaded progression.
That's what I was
posts.
thinking.
While it is suspicious, people went along with it. The community only wanted a verification video.
I was debating
But
which
after
one
a
is
few
more aura.
months,
Definitely clicks,
Xander
bro.
would
I'm telling you, especially you in the situation that you're in. When I'm watching you play Grief and I'm seeing your hand go like, and you could hear it, like, oh my God, and like it just like, especially for someone that's new, right? It very much helps with me and my understanding of like what the fuck you're even doing. It's like, what the fuck? You had to click this hard, this many times, this fast? I'm telling you, when you beat it, you definitely should include clicks. I'm telling you, clicks are awesome. I feel like it's also easier to watch. You're kind of different because you have a face cam. I don't know if you upload with face cam. But if you do, I guess it would help. But if you don't, like if I'm just watching a map, it like, for me, because I'm new, it feels like you're cheating. Like it just feels like it's impossible for you. Like it feels like it's like you're just like, it's impossible for you to lose. So when I hear the clicking, I feel like it's like, it like adds to it a bit.
Confessed to hacking Zodiac. Everyone was surprised.
Yeah, that's the thing too. I'm saying this as a new person, and for someone that doesn't watch the game, if I randomly clicked on that video and it didn't have clicks, I wouldn't be as impressed, just because of the fact that like 90% of the things that you do at this top level like aren't comprehensible. So when you're clicking it kind of like gives you like a more of like a reinforce of what the fuck's happening.
The community came to the
conclusion.
I'm talking to Doogie.
He's literally in the chat.
Essential for progression and verification videos.
That's not
while
bad.
Zodiac should have been removed from the demon list, it resulted with it staying as #1, as Technical was the first victor/verifier of that level. But throughout the end of 2018 to the
he was also the first
of 2019,
victor of what level that I watched?
Was by far the best top player.
What was it? I already
as
forgot.
he had
Damn,
completed Zodiac, Ragnarok, and Bloodlust. He was also the number one player in the demon list for a while. But that would soon change at the end of 2019.
Slaughterhouse.
When
I thought it was Slaughterhouse,
and another player named Nswish would make their presence known, as they are going to make history in the following year. 2020 was one of the quietest years for the demon list, but very active when it came to the top player status. The top players of this year consist of 3 people: Swiborg, Rory, and Nswish. But we'll get to those in just a bit, as on January 6th, Dolphy
this is my sister's birthday.
One of Riot's biggest projects, and by far the hardest level at that point, Tartarus, which would remain as the hardest level for around 1.5 years.
What's so crazy is I haven't even heard of these. What videos is this? The history of the greatest players.
As he focused on easier demons and becoming a content creator, it was mainly these 3 that really rose to the top. Let's start off with Swiborg. Swiborg became known for his major completions such as Cold Sweat and the Golden, which was the second hardest level at the time. He would remain consistent on his completions in the following months. He was also one of the highest ranked players on the demon list. Rory's legacy was similar to Swiborg's, as his main completions were Renevant, the Golden, and Tartarus.
Oh, Renevant! Pastas beat that.
And maybe
I watched
just
it the other
a bit
day.
more.
That map's also really cool. I like that map.
These 2 players were outclassed by Nswish, by far the best Geometry Dash player and top player this game has ever seen, as on September 9th, Nswish was the first player in GD history to beat the entire main list, and had by far the most list points out of anybody. It wasn't even a competition for Nswish to win the 2020 GD awards either. He was just that good. So there isn't really much else to say, but let's move on to the next year. 2021 was the spark for players to reach the top, a few players of which we know of today. But there were many top players that arose when the Slaughterhouse race began. The verifiers were Zamasu, Zanny, Trick, Photonic, Doggy, and Space UK.
Doggy mentioned. Trick. I know who Trick. Oh, Space UK.
Oh boy, let's just get this over with.
We know what happened with him.
Space UK hacked. Doggy verified it. That is all I'll mention.
Also gang shit.
Anyways, when Doggy verified Slaughterhouse, it remained on top for a
you do
very long
have
time.
face cam.
But top player wise, Space UK's legacy before he was exposed was similar to Nswish's. He was able to beat the entire main list on the demon list. and was the highest ranked player on the stats viewer page. No one could outmatch him throughout that year. The main people who were as close to Space's rank were RG and Crisis, but sadly, Space UK was just too good, as when Slaughterhouse was verified, it inspired many new players to tag along and make their way up to the ranks. But now, let's explore the next year. 2022 was the biggest rise in Geometry Dash top player history. As though Space UK would still remain on top, many new players were rising closer and closer to Space UK's status, such as Wolves, Cursed, Thunder, and Zoink. Most of us know who these people are
Crispy,
today,
he was actually like
but
really
the main
good, but he also
contenders
cheated on
were
top of it.
Snowballer, Trick, and Zoink. For a very
My goat mentioned! Oh my god!
short time, Wolves was the #1 player
Sorry, I
in
can
the
feel
world,
it through the screen.
as Space UK's profile was removed for unknown reasons, but his account was brought back shortly after. So no harm, right? Yeah, just
He is 16. And? What's that got to do with anything?
wait till later. Anyways, Zoink was starting to rise as a top player and slowly making his way up to dethrone Space. In the meantime, Zoink was also one of the best players in the community, as he not only did what Nswish and Space have achieved by beating the entire main list, but he also verified the hardest level in the game, Acheron.
I watched this, right?
There
I
isn't
watched
really
that.
much else to say since Zoink was well beyond everyone on the ranks, but it wasn't enough to surpass Space UK until now. 2023 was quiet when it came to the top players, except for one key element, when Zoink had surpassed Space UK as the #1 player in the world. But it was also quiet for the top 10 hardest levels, as the only changes that happened were Cosmos, Codependence, and Kyoki being added on the top 10, and Avernus being added as the hardest level. Normally, levels would be absolutely shifted in the span of a year, but not much happened really. Some new top players would consist of Skysoul, Tiago, and W Popoff. The best player of that year would also be Zoink, as he was titled the best Geometry Dash player in the 2023 GD Awards. This was also the same year that Space UK was exposed for cheating and was exiled away from the community. We aren't getting into that though, as we all know what he did. Anyways, with
you guys think I
Zoink
can make
being
it to the
top
Geometry
and
Dash
best
Awards?
player, we move on to the most recent year. 2024 is still ongoing to this day, but there was some recent activity between 3 players, W Popoff, Zoink, and Trick. Here's when things became interesting. Zoink
so
was able
fucking
to
weird,
verify
bro.
the hardest level to date, Tidal Wave, and Trick and W Popoff are currently the only people to ever beat it, depending if Tiago beats it before this is uploaded. This means that Zoink had verified the top 3
Grind
hardest
enough?
levels, but we need to talk
No,
about
LeBron
W
could, though.
Popoff, who many claim to be the best player in Geometry Dash as of right now. He may have not surpassed Zoink, but he definitely
Zoink
has
clears,
the skill
facts.
to do it. And
Zoink
Trick,
clears.
who very recently had surpassed Zoink as the top player after so long. Currently, Trick remains as the #1 player, and it is very debated whether which of these 3 players rather have the most skill
Yo, stop
or
mulching, welcome to the
experience
stream,
in
man.
Geometry Dash. But who knows? Maybe we will see Zoink or W Popoff come on top, or a very new and underrated player. We will just have to see. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and big shout out to Root Beer Floats as Pop, as this was inspired by his top players video, and I apologize if I missed any information or if anything is incorrect. Thank you all for watching, and Nordihydrocapsaicin.
Did he just curse me? Did he just curse me? Am I cursed? Why isn't Toph in this video? He verified Clutterfunk. Wait, that's actually facts. Wait a minute. If you really think about it, I low-key could be in this video. I did verify Clutterfunk. All right. W video. Shout out, bro. It was a good video. I like that. Toph, do you know about WizKid? No. Sorry.